So welcome to the second episode of the ITS channel podcast. As before, we're breaking this down into 3 parts for you, so you don't have to sit and watch the entire 20 to 30 minutes, but you can sit down with a cup of coffee and just spend 10 minutes looking into 3 areas with PaperCut. We're looking at opening new markets with PaperCut's Print Queue deployment and Print Deploy. Enjoy. And as before, remember to like and subscribe, and do feel free to send us feedback. So how does it work? What is it you're doing behind the scenes to be able to get these print queues out to people? What makes it so much easier than what you've got at the moment with Intune, for example?
So with Intune, if you deploy, if you look at deploying a queue and deploying a driver, it's not an easy process. Like I said, you can push out a queue, but again, if you push that queue out, how do you know it's going to the right person at the right office? You know, it might be that you only want one particular device out to one particular person. It might be the CEO's got his little desktop printer there that you only want him and maybe his PA to be able to print to. How do you manage that via Intune? It's not as easy and as clear cut as that. Whereas if you create a queue or create a queue into PaperCut, we have you name it, and then you select what drivers you want, whether it be x64, iOS, or Mac OS, or ARM64. You can attach 3 different drivers. And again, if you want to use a native driver for the OEM, you can do for x64. But if they haven't got an ARM64 driver, that's no worries. You can use our own driver for that. And then once you've done that, you select who you want that queue to actually go out to. So you can do it via user. So you can say, right, this particular user gets this queue all the time. Or you could say, actually, do you know what? If you sit on this particular network, you get this queue, whether that be a floor or be a particular office. And then once you do that, you share it out, and that's it. That's a global, just a global amendment that's made. So now if you go into that office and you're in that VLAN or in that subnet, you open up that laptop, you see that print queue, you can print straight to it. It's great for those users that are moving between offices or just general day-to-day management of just making sure that the queues are to the right people.
Yeah, but it's not just distributing queues out to laptops that are already out there. It's if you run an IT department and you get a new starter join you, you hand them their laptop, they log themselves on, and that driver is automatically downloaded to that PC or the laptop for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So the only expectation really for IT is once it's set up, configured, and ready to go, is to make sure that the client's pushed that to the user. That's really easy to do via Intune, by the way. That's super simple. But and outside of that, everything else is just managing PaperCut. So it just makes life incredibly easy.
And that's PaperCut MF and PaperCut Hive.
Yeah, absolutely. So they both do it in slightly different ways, and the licensing models are slightly different, but effectively the same process.
So I guess historically our route to market, as you know, is via our copier dealers. But we're being approached more and more now by MSPs wanting to get involved as well, because they're having the issues. They're dealing with end users on a day-to-day basis with this cloud transition. I'm guessing Print Queue deployment is going to help them as well as our copier dealers with pushing out these drivers.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, that, again, going back to that cloud migration, that last server that people generally tend to have is the print server. It's the last one that they can try and get rid of, but it's really, really difficult because everything else can be pushed into the cloud other than that print server. So to be able to alleviate that, remove that pain, remove that headache of managing and creating queues and be able to just push that into the cloud, it takes away a lot of headache, not only on their side, because ultimately they're the guys that are managing that IT infrastructure, but from a customer perspective, because the estimate is on pricing is that it's between £2,500 to £3,000 a year just to stand up a print server, and that could be through power, having the expertise to manage that, making sure the software updates are all on point. So when you put all of that into account, and then you say, actually, we can take all of that away and just push it into the cloud and have it via our products, it's sometimes just an absolute no-brainer.
Yeah. And there's nothing worse than going to a new location and going, well, how do I print? I've got to phone the IT department and say, oh, can you load a driver for me? Or I've got to send a document to a colleague and ask them to print it. It's just a faff. I just want to get there, log myself on, have my laptop know where I am, give me the right driver in the right location, and let me print. And that's what we can do with print queue deployment.
Absolutely. I mean, I spoke to a customer this morning, and it was exactly the same problem that they had. So that at the moment, they're doing direct print queue. So on some of their sites, they have servers, others they do direct print. And they're a global company with lots of offices based in and around Europe with lots of transient users. So as soon as a user goes, let's say Germany to the UK, they're using direct print queues. That's a service ticket. That is a ticket now that the IT guys are going to have to actively pick up. Right now, I need to map you to that queue. I've got to download the driver. So we've got to do all of that labor. And really, in Papercut Hive, the only thing that they would need to do was make sure that client would be on that PC, which they could do again via Intune. They would open the laptop up, and that's it. They're done. The queues just naturally come down just automatically. So for me, it's an absolute no-brainer in how easy that would be from an IT perspective.
Yeah.
But that's really interesting that you mentioned the direct print queues as well, because I think that, for me, John, I think that's one of the big differentiators in this. I think that's one of the big changes is opening up a slightly different sales channel. Because print management with your MFP, with your Find Me print queues, so print once, release from anywhere, that's been the staple of Papercut, almost from day one. But it's kind of what you're doing with this enabling direct printing as well. So, is this opening up routes into sort of like managed service providers, system integrators, just your average outsourced IT company?
Yeah, I mean, this would be huge on their radar again, because they're seeing these tickets come in again and again. And a lot of the times when you're in an MSP, they'll charge per ticket. So every time a customer logs a ticket, that will be charged. And then what they do is they accumulate them up, and then they say, right, okay, your average ticket amount for the next year is going to be X based on Y last year. Obviously, if they can reduce that cost then comes down, they become much more competitive for that customer as well. So from a price perspective for them, it's great. They reduce their workload, and this all just happens in the background pretty seamlessly. So.